So where is this game going to be played and how big a deal is this?
Look, it is a very big deal, Ros. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this is the biggest market for cricket. India simply dwarfs all other countries when it comes to the size of the audience, the amount of money available, and just, the general level of interest in cricket. So there's no doubt that this is a real coup for the Australian League, for the Big Bash. It's the first time that Big Bash has ever been played overseas. Not only that, I think it's the first time that India has actually allowed a foreign league into its own country to participate on Indian soil. And it's also going to be broadcast live, we're told, in India. And that means we're probably going to see an absolutely massive audience, not just in person, but also on TV for this particular event. So, it's a big deal for cricket in Australia. It's a big deal for the Big Bash. And it's also a fascinating reflection of the way that sports diplomacy, how commercial, sporting and political interests are all increasingly intertwined here. This is something that clearly was very much a political deal as well as a sporting deal. It's something that's been pushed very hard, you get the sense, by the Australian government, because the Indian government had to give sign-off to this. So it's a fascinating reflection of how the sporting world and the political world increasingly becomes a little bit entangled in the current geopolitical climate. In any case, let's take a listen to Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, announcing this here at the MCG not long ago.
Prime Minister Modi and I are here to launch a roadmap for sport collaboration between Australia and India to strengthen our long-standing partnership. This roadmap will support practical cooperation in areas such as sports science and staging major sporting events.
And when is Mr Modi leaving Australia, Stephen?
Well, Mr Modi is leaving very, very shortly indeed. So his trip to Australia is now coming to a close. 2 days, really, effectively in Melbourne, but he managed to pack quite a lot in. I think looking back, the two things that are still the most significant, aside from today's announcement for cricket fans, would probably be the uranium arrangement and also the defence deals that have been struck. It's very clear from this trip that Australia and India are on a trajectory to a closer defence relationship. This has been happening for more than a decade, but clearly you see with this move in particular to enmesh our two defence industries more closely, as well as the agreements on maritime cooperation, you're starting to see quite a bit more strategic trust really bubbling up now between the two countries. On uranium, that's more controversial, of course. We've already seen quite a bit of pushback, in particular from the Greens, who say that Australia should not be dealing with India when it comes to the nuclear energy trade, because India has its own nuclear weapons program. But again, this is a really clear signal that Australia is signalling about trust here. We are willing not just to lift the ban on uranium, which we did about a decade ago, but also now agree on steps that will, at least in theory or potentially, allow a larger amount of uranium to be exported to India for its nuclear reactors. These are things that, a decade or so ago, you would not necessarily easily be able to imagine, but they're now being put into place, which is a sign of how the relationship is maturing.